Everyone leaves Victoria's Secret eventually. The contracts end, the bodies change, the brand moves on to younger faces. That's how it works. That's how it has always worked, except for Alessandra Ambrosio. She walked her first Victoria's Secret fashion show in 2000 and her last in 2017. 17 consecutive years. She wore wings that weighed around 30 pounds while in early pregnancy. She returned to the runway 3 months after giving birth. She carried the fantasy bra twice, an honor reserved for the brand's biggest stars. And while other angels cycled through, she remained, the constant, the anchor, the one they called the Forever Angel. This is how a girl from a Brazilian gas station town became one of the most enduring icons Victoria's Secret ever had. Araquém sits in the southern Brazilian state of Rio Grande do Sul, far from the fashion capitals of São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro. It's the kind of place people come from, not the kind of place they go to. On April 11, 1981, Alessandra Ambrosio was born there to parents who ran a gas station about as far from the glitter of international modeling as you can get. As a child, she was insecure about her appearance. At 11 years old, she underwent cosmetic surgery to have her ears pinned back. The procedure had complications initially, but it resolved, and something shifted in her afterward. A kind of determination took root. By 12, she had enrolled in modeling classes. This wasn't a casual hobby or a parent's pipe dream pushed onto a reluctant child. Alessandra was pursuing it. She was studying how to walk, how to hold herself, how to face a camera. In a small town with no modeling industry to speak of, she was preparing for something that didn't exist in her immediate world. At 14, she entered the elite model look competition in Brazil and made it to the finals. It was her first real exposure to the professional modeling world, and she performed well enough to get noticed. Not long after, she landed a major early milestone, a cover for Elle Brazil, the kind of placement that told agencies she wasn't just a local discovery, she could carry a national magazine too. Her heritage was a mix of Italian and Polish ancestry, common in southern Brazil. She had the look that was starting to gain traction internationally, healthy, sun-kissed, athletic. Not the waif-thin aesthetic that had dominated the early and mid-1990s. Something was shifting in fashion, and Alessandra's timing aligned with it. She didn't speak English when opportunities started arriving from abroad. She learned as she went, picking up the language through immersion and necessity. The gap between Araquém and New York was vast, linguistically, culturally, professionally, but she crossed it anyway. The modeling world she entered was brutal in its standards and quick in its judgments. Most girls who arrive in New York or Milan with dreams of runway success return home within months, defeated by rejection or competition or simple economics. Alessandra kept going. Whatever drove her at 11 to change her appearance, whatever made her enroll in modeling classes at 12, whatever pushed her to compete at 14, it kept pushing. She later recalled being mesmerized as a child by the glamour of supermodels, by the transformations they achieved in each photograph. That fascination wasn't passive. She studied what they did. She learned their poses, their expressions, their movements. By the time she arrived at castings and go-sees, she had been preparing for more than half her life. The late 1990s saw a transformation in what the fashion industry considered beautiful. The heroine chic aesthetic, pale, thin, almost sickly, was fading. In its place came a wave of Brazilian models who looked healthy, athletic, tanned. They moved differently. They smiled. Around that time, Gisele Bündchen became a Victoria's Secret angel and is often credited with helping to end the ultra-waif era. Adriana Lima was rising through the ranks. Suddenly, Brazilian was desirable in a way it hadn't been before. The industry wanted that energy, that warmth, that particular combination of curves and confidence. Alessandra entered this moment at precisely the right time. Around 1999, Elite Model Management sent her test photos to Guess, and she was cast in the brand's Millennium Guess campaign. It was her first major global advertisement, and it put her in front of industry decision-makers who were actively looking for faces like hers. She was 18 when the campaign ran. The exposure led to more opportunities. She was no longer just a promising Brazilian teenager. She was a working model with international visibility. The question became what to do with that visibility. The Brazilian models weren't just arriving, they were taking over. The major agencies were signing them. The magazines were putting them on covers. For someone like Alessandra, being Brazilian in 1999 meant riding a wave that was lifting an entire generation of models from her country. Victoria's Secret was expanding aggressively in this period. The annual fashion show, which had started in 1995, was becoming a cultural event. The brand was building its roster of angels, contracted models who represented the company across campaigns, commercials, and the runway. They were looking for new faces to join established names like Tyra Banks and Heidi Klum. Alessandra fit what they wanted. The Brazilian aesthetic, the approachable warmth, the camera presence she had been developing since childhood. She wasn't the most famous model in the world in 1999, but she was ready, and she was available at exactly the moment when Victoria's Secret was ready for her. Victoria's Secret was building pink as its younger line in the early 2000s, and Alessandra became one of the faces audiences started associating with that world. By 2006, she was selected as the first official spokesmodel for pink, proof the brand saw her as more than a one-season runway booking. It gave her a deeper foothold inside the company's machine, not just the fashion show spotlight. Her debut on the Victoria's Secret fashion show came in 2000. The show had only existed since 1995, and it was still finding its identity as a televised spectacle. Alessandra stepped into a lineup of established stars alongside fellow Brazilian Adriana Lima, walking in as the new face among names the audience already recognized. The early 2000s were her learning years. She walked, she posed for campaigns, she showed up reliably. The fashion show was evolving into something bigger. By the mid-2000s, it would draw nearly 10 million viewers annually and broadcast in almost 200 countries. Alessandra was present for that growth, establishing herself as someone the brand could depend on. Her official status as a Victoria's Secret Angel, the contractual designation for the brand's top-tier models, came in 2004 as the company refreshed its lineup. She was now part of an elite group, but within that group, she was still relatively junior. Tyra Banks had been with VS since 1997, Heidi Klum since 1999. Gisele Bündchen was already one of the most famous models in the world. Alessandra didn't try to compete on fame. She competed on presence. She brought energy to the runway that translated well on television. The Victoria's Secret fashion show was becoming a spectacle unlike anything else in fashion, part concert, part theater, part runway show. It required models who could perform, not just walk. She could do playful. In 2005, she walked in lingerie crafted entirely out of candy, complete with candy necklaces as a bra, and made it look like couture. She could do glamorous. She could do sultry. She could embody the sexy Santa of a holiday commercial or the sophisticated elegance of a fragrance campaign. Her versatility made her useful in ways that more limited models couldn't match. The show itself was evolving into something no one had quite seen before. Supermodels sharing a stage with pop stars, elaborate sets and costumes, fantasy sequences that transformed lingerie into high fashion. Alessandra adapted to each new iteration, each new theme, each new creative direction the show took. In 2007, People magazine named her one of the 100 most beautiful people. The mainstream recognition signaled that her appeal extended beyond fashion insiders. Victoria's Secret had turned her from a working model into someone the general public recognized. By the end of the decade, she had graced over 70 international magazine covers. The Victoria's Secret platform had translated into worldwide visibility, and she was paying attention to how the whole operation really worked. In 2004, while her Victoria's Secret career was still ascending, Alessandra launched her own swimwear line in collaboration with Brazilian brand Rosa Cha. It was called Alessandra Ambrosio by Sais, and it sold 10,000 units in its first month. The timing was deliberate. She was famous enough that her name could move product, but she wasn't so established that she had nothing to prove. The swimwear line demonstrated that her value extended beyond showing up for someone else's brand. She expanded this into acting, taking cameo appearances on television shows like Entourage and How I Met Your Mother. The roles were minor. She often played herself or a version of a supermodel character, but they kept her visible outside the fashion bubble. In 2017, she appeared in the comedy film Daddy's Home 2 alongside Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell. Throughout this period, she kept stacking work outside Victoria's Secret, the kind that made her name feel bigger than one runway. She appeared in major campaigns and brand work across fashion and beauty, building a portfolio that could stand on its own even if the Angel contract ever ended. The strategy was clear, even if she never articulated it publicly. Victoria's Secret was her anchor, but it wasn't her entire identity. She was building revenue streams that would exist whether or not the Angel contract continued. She was thinking about what came after. A decade later, in 2014, she expanded her fashion business into a full lifestyle brand called Ale by Alessandra. The line included swimwear, apparel, and accessories. She told People magazine that growing up near the beach in Brazil made swimwear a natural extension of her personal style. The brand reflected a Brazil meets Malibu aesthetic: vibrant colors, comfortable cuts, Brazilian silhouettes. She was involved in the design process, emphasizing durability and fit alongside appearance. This wasn't just name licensing. She had opinions about how the products should function. The lifestyle brand also expanded to include a children's line, Ale by Alessandra Little Ones, inspired by her daughter. Other angels left Victoria's Secret to pursue acting careers or high fashion opportunities. Some succeeded, many struggled. Alessandra stayed with the brand and built her enterprises on the side. The loyalty gave her stability. The parallel ventures gave her options. She was preparing for the day when the runway would end, even as she continued to dominate it. The demands of modeling for Victoria's Secret were not abstract. They showed up in the body, in the schedule, in the discipline required to maintain a specific appearance year after year. In late summer 2008, Alessandra gave birth to her first child, a daughter named Anja. The Victoria's Secret fashion show was scheduled for November. She had 3 months to return to runway condition. She met the deadline. She later said those months were built on a very restrictive plan, and she didn't glamorize it. She talked about hating the discipline but sticking to it out of sheer determination. The show required a certain look, and she delivered it. 3 months after childbirth, she walked the runway and looked camera-ready. She also acknowledged afterward that the experience changed her approach to fitness. Before motherhood, she hadn't exercised much. The post-baby deadline pushed her into real workout habits. She kept them afterward and in some ways felt stronger in her 30s than she had in her 20s. In 2011, the physical demands escalated further. Victoria's Secret gave her a pair of wings for the fashion show that weighed approximately 30 pounds, the heaviest wings in the show's history up to that point. They were ornate, gold, dripping with over 100,000 Swarovski crystals. A team of 4 people helped attach them to her back during fittings. When she first tried them on, she nearly fell backward from the weight. The show's executive producer later recalled Alessandra's response. She would wear them if they looked good on her. The appearance mattered more than the difficulty. She walked the runway that night in those wings, in lingerie, in towering heels, on a stage with no margin for error. She smiled. She moved as if the 30 pounds weren't there. The audience saw effortless grace. Backstage, she had joked about needing to start lifting weights because she normally didn't train her back or arms. What made the 2011 walk more remarkable was a fact revealed only later. She was in early pregnancy during that show. She carried those massive wings while carrying her second child. The dedication, or the pressure, depending on how you interpret it, was extreme. Her son Noah was born in May 2012. 6 months later, Victoria's Secret selected her to wear the fantasy bra at that year's fashion show. The fantasy bra is the centerpiece of the entire event, a multi-million-dollar creation worn by the brand's most prominent angel. That year's version, the floral fantasy bra, was worth $2.5 million and adorned with amethysts, rubies, sapphires, and diamonds. She walked in the jeweled bra and orchid petal wings looking as relaxed as ever. Observers who knew she had been in postpartum recovery just months before were astonished. She had managed breastfeeding and new motherhood and runway preparation simultaneously. The costs were real. The extreme, restrictive plans. The postpartum pressure to return to a specific body shape within weeks. The physical toll of carrying weight that belonged in a gym, not on a runway. She paid those costs consistently for nearly 2 decades. Whether this represented admirable discipline or an industry demanding too much depends on how you look at it. Probably both are true. She later acknowledged that becoming a mother made shooting lingerie feel different psychologically. There was a mental adjustment required, reconciling the role of mother with the role of professional whose job involved displaying her body. She worked through it. She continued modeling, including a much-discussed photo shoot for a magazine shortly after her second child was born. The balance between personal comfort and professional demands was a tightrope she walked alongside the actual runway. In interviews, she emphasized the importance of taking care of mind and spirit, not just external appearance. True confidence, she suggested, came from within rather than from cosmetic enhancements or external validation. The statement offered a counterweight to the intense physical focus of her profession. Whatever internal work she did to maintain equilibrium across 17 years, it seemed to function. The early angels cycled out. Tyra Banks walked her last Victoria's Secret show in 2005. Gisele Bündchen left in 2006. Heidi Klum retired her wings in 2010. Miranda Kerr departed in 2013. Dutzen Kroos left in 2014. Alessandra stayed. By the mid-2010s, she had outlasted everyone from her original cohort. She'd been an angel for over a decade, a tenure that few others could match. At that point, she functioned like the brand's institutional memory, the person who'd seen every version of the show, every shift in the lineup, every new era arrive. Younger angels joined the roster. Candace Swanepoel, Bahati Prinsloo, the Hadid sisters. Alessandra was there to welcome them, to show them how the operation worked. Miranda Kerr later noted how Alessandra and Adriana Lima had helped her learn the ropes early in her angel career. The mentorship role emerged naturally from longevity. The second fantasy bra came in 2014. Victoria's Secret did something unprecedented that year. They created 2 fantasy bras, each worth $2 million, and gave one to Alessandra and one to Adriana Lima. The 2 Brazilians walked together wearing millions of dollars in diamonds. Only a handful of angels in history had worn the fantasy bra twice. Alessandra was now in that exclusive group. The media started calling her the Forever Angel. The nickname captured something real. Other models treated Victoria's Secret as a stepping stone or a phase. Alessandra treated it as a foundation. She understood that staying gave her a platform no amount of outside hustling could replicate. She and Adriana Lima became known as the Brazilian Dream Team of Victoria's Secret. They walked out together in finale moments. They represented the golden age of the brand, the era when the fashion show was appointment television and the angels were household names. When people thought of Victoria's Secret in the 2000s and 2010s, they thought of those two. She brought something specific to the runway that producers valued. Reliability combined with warmth, the playful winks at the camera, the air kisses to the audience, the radiant energy that made each outfit seem like something she genuinely enjoyed wearing rather than a costume she tolerated. Whether she was dressed as a sultry samba-inspired dancer paying tribute to her Brazilian heritage or an ethereal angel in feathered wings, she gave each look personality. 17 consecutive shows. From her debut in 2000 to her farewell in 2017, she never missed a year. And when she stepped away, that streak alone put her in the top tier of Victoria's Secret's all-time runway mainstays. The first 5 years of the show happened before she ever had a chance to be there. She was still a teenager, still building a career. Every year after that, she showed up. The 2017 Victoria's Secret fashion show took place in Shanghai. Weeks before the event, speculation swirled that Alessandra might be retiring. She confirmed it. This would be her final appearance. She was 36 years old. In modeling terms, that's old. In Victoria's Secret terms, it was practically ancient. But she wasn't leaving because she couldn't keep up or because the brand had moved on. She was leaving because she chose to. Her children, Anja, now 9, and Noah 5, were getting older. She wanted to spend more time with them. Her fashion lines required attention. She had acting ambitions. The annual cycle of Victoria's Secret fittings, preparations, and shows was demanding, and she was ready to step away from that particular grind. The Shanghai show itself had the feel of a farewell. Backstage, fellow angels treated her like royalty. Her close friend, Lily Aldridge, walked hand in hand with her during the finale. The camera lingered on Alessandra as she waved to the audience, and you could see it on her face. The happiness, the nostalgia, the finality. After the show aired, she posted an open letter on Instagram. She wrote that words could not describe her gratitude for working with a brand that inspired her and women around the world. She thanked the Victoria's Secret family, her angel sisters, and the fans. In her wildest dreams, she said, she had never imagined doing 17 Victoria's Secret fashion shows. Media outlets celebrated her departure with retrospectives of her career. Fashion publications ranked her among the most influential Victoria's Secret models in history. The coverage treated her retirement as the end of an era, which it was. The exit was graceful. She left on her own terms, financially secure, with businesses generating income independent of her modeling career. She hadn't waited until the brand pushed her out or until her body gave out. She decided when enough was enough. The timing proved prescient in ways she may not have anticipated. The Victoria's Secret fashion show aired one more time after her departure in 2018. Then, the company put it on hiatus. The cultural moment that had sustained the show was shifting. The angel concept was facing criticism. The brand was struggling to adapt to changing attitudes about beauty and body image. Alessandra got out right as an era was ending. Whether she sensed it coming or simply made a personal decision that happened to align with broader changes, she avoided the decline. Her legacy remained associated with the peak years, not the stumble that followed. When Victoria's Secret brought the runway back, it leaned into legacy as much as novelty. Alessandra didn't wait long. She returned for the 2024 revival. Then, in 2025, the brand announced she'd be walking again, marking her 19th time on that stage. It wasn't a desperation comeback. It was a reminder of what the brand looked like at full power and who helped define that era. It wasn't a comeback in the usual sense. She hadn't disappeared into obscurity. She had spent the intervening years running her businesses, modeling selectively for high-profile magazine editorials and brand campaigns, raising her children, splitting time between Los Angeles and Brazil. Her life after Victoria's Secret had been busy and lucrative. The 2025 return was more of a coronation. The brand that had defined her career still needed her, still wanted her face, her presence. Her connection to the years when the Victoria's Secret fashion show meant something specific and powerful. She represented continuity with a past the company was trying to recapture. She walked again, 44 years old, still capable of commanding the stage she had occupied for 17 consecutive years. The younger models were there too, but the cheers for Alessandra carried a different weight. They were cheering for history. The modeling industry consumes people quickly. Careers that burn bright at 20 often flicker out by 25. The faces change constantly. The bodies that define one era's beauty standard get replaced by bodies that define the next. Alessandra Ambrosio survived in that environment for nearly 3 decades, with more than a decade spent as a Victoria's Secret angel, and a 17-year fashion show streak that ran from 2000 to 2017. She outlasted contemporaries who were more famous, more acclaimed, more celebrated by the fashion establishment. She did it by understanding something that pure talent alone doesn't teach. That longevity requires strategy. She built while she walked. Swimwear lines, lifestyle brands, endorsement portfolios, acting credits. She stayed loyal to the platform that amplified her name, but she never confused the platform with the person. Victoria's Secret was a job, the best job she could have, a job she loved, but a job. What she built on top of, it belonged to her. When she finally stopped, it was intentional. She left with her legacy intact and her businesses running, and when the brand came calling again later, she could choose whether to return. The girl from the gas station town in southern Brazil became one of the defining angels of Victoria's Secret's peak era. She did it through talent, yes, and through timing, and through the particular combination of warmth and beauty that cameras love. But she also did it through calculation, through understanding that the runway was a means, not an end. In 2025, she put the wings on again, the forever angel walking a stage she helped define for nearly 2 decades, proving that some legacies don't fade when the lights go down. They just wait for the next show to begin.